Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is the final day. We're doing 22 days because I had to redo the one. And Tina, you posted this. It's so good. If it's important to you, you will find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. So I think all of us have had desires for things that we want. We've tried with every fiber of our being to make it happen. And yet, despite our best efforts, it doesn't happen for us. So then if you read something like that, if it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. You're like, well, I must be using excuses. Yet everything you're doing is working hard. This is, to me, where the law of divine timing comes in, or right timing. If you don't like the word divine, right timing. Because not everything is meant for us that we want, and there's reasons for that, to me, from a soul level. I mean, this is just absolutely my belief. I mean, you can choose to believe it or not. Hey, Barbara, great to see you. So when you say, oh, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you find an excuse. And yet you're working really hard to make something happen, doing everything, all these things, and yet it doesn't. Then in that vein, we'd go to self-blame, like, well, I must be making excuses. I must be blocking it. I must be in resistance. And what if none of that is true? What if it's just not the right time? Or what if the thing that you think you want is actually not for your highest good? What if there's something else that's even better? And from the small self, we don't always see that. You know, let's call it the ego-based self. We want what we want when we want it. And yet you've probably had times too where maybe you didn't get something you want. And yet like, wow, this thing came instead, and it's better. So it's just a different way to see it. So let's tap. Karate chop, even though I hear it said, if it's important, I will find a way. If not, I'll find an excuse. And that can really beat me up. Especially when I've tried so hard. I choose to acknowledge my truth right now. Even though I could use any quote to beat myself up, I deeply and profoundly accept myself anyway now. Even though, there it goes, I hear it again. If it's important, I'll find a way. If not, I'll find an excuse. What if that's not true in my world? I choose to honor my truth right now. And go to the eyebrow. If it's important, I'll find a way. If not, I'll find an excuse. What if I've had this experience of wanting something so bad and trying so hard to obtain it, yet it hasn't happened for me? And what if I could just honor that this is another way that bully in my brain can use these things as an excuse to beat me up? And what if that's the real excuse? The bully can find anything to beat me up. And what if this thing that's not coming to me is not at all because I'm making excuses? What if it's not for my highest good? Or what if the timing isn't right yet? Or what if what's happening is that all my attachments to how I think things should work out are actually being stripped away? And what if this stripping process is actually there to help me reconnect to a higher source, so that guidance and direction can come as I get the ego's agenda out of the way? And what if great forces will open up to me that will guide and direct me to what's best for me as I learn to unhook from these false beliefs that if it's important to me, I'll find a way. If not, I'll find an excuse. And what if there are people that find excuses? And maybe sometimes I do too. But what if that's the child in me that's so afraid, that doesn't feel safe? And what if that's an opportunity to be more kind and loving to this part of me, so that I can transform it? And what if this is a different way to see all of this, other than yet another way to beat myself up? If it's important to me, I'll find a way. If not, I'll find an excuse. And what if I'm seeing this even 1% differently right here and now? And what if that makes all the difference? So take a breath. And I want to punch something in here. If that resonated with you, go back and tap on it as many times as you need to. And it's just another way to see it, because I was pummeling myself to dust about like, oh, I'd read these things and I'm like, oh my God, it was amazing. No wonder I had freaking epic anxiety. Like, no freaking wonder, because every freaking day it was like, oh my God, I found another way to beat myself up. And not like, and I say that not judgmentally, it makes sense that we do, because we're raised to do that. And then we live in a culture that's constantly like telling us how it should be and what a successful life should look like and how we should look if we're a successful human being, and how much to weigh and how pretty or handsome you should be and what to wear. And instead of like, who gives a shit? And it's not to like, hey, I want to do good by myself, for myself. I want to feel good about myself. That's a very different thing than this pushing ourselves to oblivion to some random standard that's put out there for all of us. So anyway, that's it for now. This will be posted on YouTube shortly. Barbara, mwah, great to see you here. And we'll catch up soon. Take care and bye for now. And that's the end of this series.